There are two sides to religion, as you know already, in being on this path. But the inner world is one that has been virtually unknown in religion. People have gone to ashrams and received very secret initiations. These things have been kept from the world, not because the great masters didn't want to help the world, but because they knew that worldly consciousness would make a mockery of things that are divine, that they would not understand, and they would throw up barriers rather than assisting those deep, sincere devotees who wanted to learn about the inner kingdom. And so it is a great blessing for us that now in our age these teachings have been brought out into the world, in the sense that the public can learn about them. They still have to go through the effort of preparing themselves, practicing meditation and so on. But how few would have learned about them if they were only taught in caves in the Himalayas. It is a great blessing that we all are able to receive these initiations. The inner world has been described, but hintingly, in the different scriptures. In the book of Revelation, which most people think of as a book of apocalypse, a book of predictions of some great future Armageddon, and then a great millennium, and all of it outward. In fact, this scripture is a description of deep inner truths. And because St. John knew that people would not understand or appreciate them, therefore he warned against changing a single word of them, and no one has dared change them because of the curses he would call down on them. And yet, in the very first chapter, Master pointed out that he was talking about these inner chakras, the 7 stars, the 7 golden candlesticks. These refer to the inner centers. It says that I was on the Lord's day, I fell as though dead, and I heard behind me the voice as of a great trumpet. You can talk of that behind me as being, see, when you go forward, that which is behind you is the other extremity. You're going from that extremity to another. So behind me means within. Or you can take it more literally that you're hearing the sound back here. Both are valid. Both are true. And what we find in these chapters is that he's talking about the sword in his right hand and left hand, and the bringing of the energy up through this chakra. His head was white like wool, describing the rays of energy going out from the 1,000-petaled lotus. In the Old Testament we find similar descriptions. Thou wast on the mountain on the sacred mountain, and it describes him walking up and down the stones of fire, the chakras, with their blazing lights within. And the tree of life, as it speaks of also in the book of Revelation, the tree on either side of the tree of the river of life. This is the Ira and the Pingala, and the river of life is the Sushumna. And all great teachers have talked, as I said, hintingly about these truths. Now we come into a more graphic and overt expression of them. As I said this morning, when the energy comes in through the medulla, it goes out into the brain, down the nervous system. The body in the Bhagavad-Gita, it says, is an upturned tree. It says, men call it the Ashwata tree, with its roots above and its branches below. What he's describing, without saying so, is the body. The roots are the rays of energy going out from the brain, which are also physically manifested as the hair. That's why yogis often will let their hair grow long, because they say it draws more energy to the brain. And the branches are the upturned nervous tree, with the branches going out to the senses. And so, as that energy moves out into the world, we get attracted because it stimulates the senses. We get attracted there. When a mosquito bites you on the hand, you feel like scratching it and hope that it'll go away, but it only gets worse. The only way to get rid of a mosquito bite's itching is to refuse to scratch it. And if you refuse to, then in a few minutes that itching will go away and you'll feel comfortable again. And the same thing with this, if we don't allow that energy to itch the senses, you might say, to stimulate them, then we will be able gradually to relax and withdraw. Now that energy, as it comes down through the spine into the nervous system, there are different way stations as it goes. And this is a very complex world that we are talking about, one that would be and has been the study of great yogis for thousands of years to describe this. It is not my purpose to give it to you in depth, but to give you the overview. That every time you have a desire, that desire will manifest outwardly. If that desire is not fulfilled, then it will remain as a seed, little vortex of energy in the spine. Now these different seeds of karma, seeds of past, of energy going on, of past actions and so on, these remain in the spine according to their own, you might say, center of gravity. The upper chakras, beginning with the heart, the throat, the medulla, the point between the eyebrows, the upper chakra, these, the crown chakra, these are those chakras that help us to go into the spirit. The lower three chakras, the lumbar, the sacral, and the coccyx center, these are the centers in which the mind is focused when our energy goes outward to the world. And the thoughts that we have, the karmas, the vasanas, the impressions, these little seeds of past desire, likes and dislikes and so on, these things settle according to our level of consciousness in the spine on those different levels. The lowest chakra is the center that involves you completely in matter. The next one up is a center that involves you in sexual creativity. This one is for the digestion, and also for it begins to develop that kind of willpower that manifests itself outwardly in the world. In the heart center there is love. In this center there is great peace. In the cervical center, in the medulla, there is that sense of I. Who am I, really? The ego, yes. But if you get deeper and deeper within that ego, you begin to see that there is nothing that identifies it. As you can release all your attachments, you begin to see that you are just you. You are. There's no way of saying you are a man or a woman or rich or poor or like these things and don't like those things. You simply are. And in that state then comes the great bliss of God, and you discover that that is who I really am. Self-realization is the realization of God at the very center of our being. Now, as this energy comes in through the medulla, goes down through the spine, into the chakras, it pushes its way all the way to its opposite pole, you might say, in matter. And there the energy rests dormant, waiting to be awakened. That outward flow manifests in the lower animals, physically speaking, as a tail. When a dog expresses its happiness, it wags its tail, because that's where its energy goes, that's where it feels the energy. The females of the lower species have their breasts along the body. It's only in woman that the breasts are here, because they express the truly nurturing quality of love. The heart center is the center of love. Now the energy that is locked at the base of the spine is called the Kundalini. And this Kundalini energy, being asleep, keeps us locked in material consciousness. As we relax the body bit by bit, as we raise our consciousness bit by bit, so the Kundalini is awakened. Master made a very important statement one time to us when he said that every time you have a kind thought, every time you have a noble or expansive thought, automatically the Kundalini is a little bit released, relaxed. It releases its grip on that lowest part of the spine. And every time you have a negative thought, it tightens its grip. The energy moves downward. Every time you have a selfish thought, an unkind thought, a contractive as opposed to an expansive thought, the energy in the Kundalini becomes strengthened in its downward movement. So he said, finishing that discussion, Kundalini is not awakened only by techniques. You see, many people who take up yoga, especially Hatha yoga, think that they're going to awaken the Kundalini by all sorts of physical exercises. Sometimes they manage to do it, but it's like lighting a fire underneath it and driving it up. The nervous system has to be prepared to invite it, to draw it up. And if you push it upward, it can cause severe troubles in the nervous system. Another thing is that unless you purify the consciousness, the energy may rise for a little while, and you may develop certain powers, and it'll go to your head, and it'll all go down again, perhaps in some ways stronger than ever. So the right way is the way of Raja Yoga, which includes some postures, some position of stillness, some breathing exercises, but mainly its whole thrust is to draw the energy upward, to create a magnet up here that will invite that energy to rise.